Hello and welcome, Dr. Sharnael. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you'll correct me in just a second. Welcome to Quantum Alchemist Master Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Yes, that's how you say it. And I am so honored to be with you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. So I'm very intrigued because I was browsing through your website, your stuff, your workshops, everything you offer. I'm like, I like this. I'm very interested. This sounds like something right up my alley, right up my audience's alley as well. So I really want to dive deeper into kind of like your journey, how you got to where you are today and whatever you really feel like sharing with us.
Yeah, I think like everybody, we come here and we kind of forget why we're here, what we're doing, and we're given the opportunities to either like just go with the flow and be a default and create kind of mishappenly, um, and or as things happen, or as things that we create show up and we're aware of them, it gives us that ability to either choose something different or and or create something different or just continue getting the same negative patterns over and over again. And for me, I didn't even realize, and no one ever taught me that we actually do create. As creatures, we are creators. And I really wish that someone had told me from the beginning, hey, you're doing all of this. This is you. But for whatever reason, I wasn't told. That wasn't my path, and until it was. And once I really got the idea that everything so far up to that point was my creation, I was depressed, honestly, because I was like, oh my God, what did I do all this for? And like, how much time have I wasted? But also, the good news is, well, if I can make it that bad, then I can actually create something really powerful and wonderful as well. And I can reverse engineer it. And now it's at all of our fingertips for anyone who is aware and awake. And so some of the examples, to be specific, I mean, just terrible partnership, um, choosing the worst guys ever, and, for my relationships, and or um even occupations. I always felt like I wanted to be in some type of service or ministry, and I settled, for a lot of jobs, literally jobs that were just not fulfilling and or um, supportive or nourishing to my soul. And, again, no one sat down and ever told me, well, you can do something different. You can create something else, whether it was settling for partnership or settling for purpose. Um, I think it was a learned habit too, and nothing against my parents. They were only doing what they were doing as well. But there were some learned behaviors there environmentally. I think that just had me buy into it even more. But yeah, on the brink of death and having multiple very, like, I just would graduate from a worse guy to a worse guy. Um, and then even my purpose of just, settling, working at a bank or in retail or, things like that, which there isn't anything against any of that, but it just wasn't my highest. It wasn't something that I would like wake up and feel alive about. Um, and I just thought, well, this is what you got to do. You have kids and you have this and you have to make a living. And so you just do whatever you can instead of having the opportunity and or the memory of, oh, I can create something else and do something completely different. And then create those opportunities as well for those things to happen and well, not happen, but to create it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's unwrap and unravel the onion slightly. I love what you've said. I myself feel very identified with everything you've mentioned. I think a lot of us will when they listen to your episode. So I was same thing. I've been in healthcare for over 10 years, kind of same very dissatisfaction. But I would love to learn how how you made that shift, kind of like how that change started to evolve in you, that spark that said that nudge, right? That your soul's like taps you and it's like, hey, gotta move. This is so uncomfortable. For me, it was a lot of pain and a lot of like just kind of like being pinned against the wall. And then you're like, man, this is pretty bad. I don't want to keep being here. If this is it, I don't like it. I have to find another way. There has to, I think it's that turning point where you say there has to be another way. At least that's how it was for me, but I would love to learn your particular way, or maybe it was something in your life that happened. A lot of times when we're through that dark night of the soul, something huge happens. Relationships fall apart, the jobs, the everything. So I would just kind of love to learn how your journey got past to like started to create what you're more aligned with.
Yeah, for me, all of those things were happening in every avenue, the health, the abuse that I allowed, the purpose. I remember in my seeking, um, would just literally come home from work. I was living in a separate bedroom at the time with I say partner, but that isn't a true accurate statement. The person that I was living with, um, because there was no partnership. 13 years in separate rooms. What a waste. But I came home one day, and I mean, this is after doing anything possible that I knew at the time with the tools that I had of, fasting, praying, meditating, just seeking. And at one point, I remember coming home from work, and I had what you said. I had those words of like, there has to be more. Like there's got to be something more. And I remember I heard within me, lift up your hands. And I was like, what the heck? Like, what do you mean lift up my hands? And so I literally lifted up my hands. I'm in my bedroom, sitting on my bed. It's about 8 something, 8:30-ish. And all of a sudden I felt this extremely like warm, almost like a honey type feeling touch the tips of my fingers, and then started going down over my hands and my arms, touched the top of my head, completely like enveloped me. Um, and to this day, I don't 100% know what that was. Um, I remember feeling immense love. I remember a lot of tears of, I guess, like a relief, a release of angst, fear, um, grief, and then it just completely covered my body. And I remember seeing like a really, really, really bright light, and I actually felt or saw a man, and this is the second time that I had seen this man, and I recognized him as Jesus or Yeshua. Um, and look, I don't consider myself religious at all. But I had a similar experience at 4 years old. Not exactly, but I did see the guy, and I didn't even know who he was. I didn't find out who he was until second grade. And so this is my second time to see this guy. And he literally called me to sit on his lap like I was a little kid, but I was 20 something, as an adult. And I go sit on his lap, and he just starts like rocking me, holding me. And all he kept saying was, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Just over and over without saying words. It was just like in his mind, and I could hear him, and he's rocking me. And I remember this bright, bright, bright light, and feeling like, oh my gosh, he's here, or somebody's here, something's here in the room. And I opened up my eyes, and because when my eyes were shut, I don't know if you've ever had your eyes shut and a bright light comes and like something's in the room. And so I opened my eyes to see what was in the room. The whole room was lit up, and I was like, where is this light coming from? And I saw that it looked like it was coming from outside. So I stood up, went to the window. By the way, my hands were still in the air. And I was like, oh, and I put my hands down. I go look outside the window because it looked like this bright light is shining inside my window. And I go look out, and like everything's lit in the whole outside. And I'm thinking, what kind of light is making the entire neighborhood be so bright? And I'm so disoriented. And I walk out of the house, walk out of my room, and the house is all lit up. And I looked at the clock. It was like 8:32, maybe 2 or 3 minutes had gone by. And then it took me a little bit, but what I finally realized is 12 hours of my life had passed, like in a second. Had missing time. And probably the whole 12 hours had my arms up, being rocked by this being of love. Maybe that's what I required. And honestly, after that point, things really started shifting pretty fast for me. It wasn't long after that where my partner at the time actually changed the locks on the door when I came home from work one day and I was kicked out. I thought it was the worst punishment ever, and just thought it was the end of my life. But it was the best thing that ever happened, because then it just started this ripple effect of all these other things that looked really tough and really hard and really like the end of the line, but really it was an open door to start a brand new life that I wouldn't have done on my own. Teachers started showing up that started um, explaining these things to me better, and giving me opportunities to have a different perspective, not just about life, love, and health, but about my purpose, about my mission here. And there's been several things that have happened since then. I had these two beings that showed up not long after that, and they were very specific in formulas and graphs and colors and very, very specific things. They were probably like 14 feet tall in my living room. This is maybe a few months after that point. And also continuing to just pray and seek and meditate and fast, and that's not always the way to get there. But that was again what I knew at the time. It was like, okay, I don't know what to do, so this is what I'm going to do. And it seemed to work. Um, but I ended up writing everything down that these two beings gave me this information, and they actually showed me how to use the technology to create, how we are all already given all these things, how we have this biofield and the power of what this biofield does, and how the power of what our cells and our organs and our blood and our thoughts and our feelings and what we talk about and conscious language, and all these tools that we're given that really truly create one way or the other. And we can either create something really beautiful and harmonious and amazing, and or we can just go along life thinking things are happening to us and that we have no control, which is absolutely nonsense. And so, yeah, I put it all in a book called The Science of Miracles. I wasn't planning on writing a book, but everyone kept asking me, like, wanting to know the graphs and the pictures, and really wanting to change because they were seeing the change in me, and they were seeing what the fruit of those things were when I was taking action with those things. And I'm like, everybody can do this. We can all create. We can all do this. And so, yeah, and so I've been teaching on this now for quite a while. I was teaching way before that, but my teaching has changed.
Beautiful. I love that you mentioned your teaching has changed. That's beautiful because as our journey changes, we start to share something different. Are you able by any chance, if you feel comfortable, showing us maybe one of the graphics on the book, for those that are watching the video that may be curious? Also, is it available on audiobook or just yeah?
Yeah, I have it in audio. I think it's on Spotify.
Okay, cool.
Um, but yeah, I have it's on my website as well, but the graphs just, I mean, there's several graphs. They're terrible. I'm not the best.
Oh,
Um,
no worries. It's
but
fine.
I didn't draw this one, but this is talking about energetic purgatory, and how we can create our own purgatory. And, because the biofield is usually what I've tested so far. Most people are around 4 to 5 feet. There are people who have way bigger fields. Animals have bigger fields. Horses are 350 in feet. Dolphins are unmeasurable. Dogs and cats are pretty far. But and I have tested some people like up to 20 feet, but the average is around 4 to 5 feet. And what entails of that field, of our field, is what we're thinking about, what we're talking about, what we're feeling. Our cells have their own generated radiation, our organs have their own radiation. Um, yeah, I mean, when I worked in a cardiac rehab, I remember the surgeons would talk about the blue light that they would see in the heart. We are electric, and it's called a biofield because it's both radiating out, you know, bio meaning to radiation, but also there's a magnet um, involved. And so there's this torrid of in and out, in and out, in and out. And we all have this field. Animals and plants have the field. The earth actually has a field as a planet called the Schumann resonance. And there's a frequency involved, and there's polarity. So again, radiation, but also this magnet. And our thoughts and our words and our heart all have this radiation. And then the magnet of the heart is huge. It's like 500 times, 5,000 times more in the magnet pull than it is the radiation. And so what we're feeling, our desires, are incredibly important, because we can be thinking about something really positive, and we can even be talking about something positive, but if we have fear or doubt, then it puts negatives in the equation. So you can have some positives, and here's the picture. Just the one that is so terrible, but like some of the graphics that I was
Oh,
given.
I love that. I see it. I see it.
So
Yeah.
this is terrible stick people, but like this is the heart
Yeah.
in the middle, and we have all these positives and negatives, what we're thinking about, what we're talking
Thank you for
about,
showing that.
what
Because a
we're,
lot of people, I'm very visual, so maybe this for some people, this could really help. That's why I asked if you could share that. I'm
yeah.
actually pretty excited to read your book. It sounds like something I definitely want to dive deeper into myself. Um, so tell me a little bit more about kind of like the work you do a little bit more in depth, if that's possible. Like, is the biofield something that you work with? Is the mapping something you work with? Like, could you explain to us a little bit more?
Yeah, so I'm actually a naturopath by trade. But I mean, I do work as a naturopath, and I use my intuition as well to help people on a physical level. And I usually end up getting the people who have like the craziest mysterious things that people can't figure out, doctors can't figure out. They come to me, and I'm able to help identify what the root issue is, and to reverse engineer that. And I've worked with thousands of people to do that. Um, but also, it's because I work on an energetic level with the field. I find out what's going on in the field, and because usually whatever's going on in the body is what's going to project in the field. And what we think about, what we're talking about, what we're feeling is what's going out, which is what's getting a match. And we can only get what we are. So whether it's a health issue, or again, partnership, or abundance, maybe you've been stuck not creating money, or creating money is against the law, but and or abundance or prosperity. When we if there's lack, that could be a genetic thing that we were born into, that we incarnated into, that's somehow in the code of what the field is, and or it could be an environmental thing, like maybe mom didn't have money, so we don't have money. There is a scientific experiment where they took 1,000 fleas and they put them in this jar, and fleas can jump like 5, 6 feet. And they were all just put in this little jar. I can't remember the time. But when they opened the jar, the fleas wouldn't jump out anymore. They just stayed in. And all the babies that the fleas birthed would not jump out, even though they could jump 5, 6 feet way out of the jar. And so a lot of the genetic engineering that can be encoded in our DNA or mitochondria is still the memory of that. And but this can all be cleared as well. And so I'll work with mapping, so I can find the snag of what is, maybe in the consciousness of what someone's thinking or believing or being alive in, be alive, believe, and or we find relief, relive again. And or finding whatever snag in consciousness. And another tool I use is listening. I'll listen to what people are saying. I can usually 4 or 5 minutes find the snag of why these things are happening just by listening to what they say. um and a lot of this was out of these experiences that I've had, and of just being like aware now of like, oh, this is what's going on with this girl. This is what's in her field, and being able to see what's in the field, and using biofeedback to help a little bit too, on things that I may not even see, but I could find with biofeedback with technology. So I work one-on-one with people. I have workshops on my website as well for people who may be interested in like liver cleanses or muscle tapping testing, or mapping themselves. And we do have a class coming up too, where we do live demos. And so on right on the workshop, we're literally getting miracles on the workshop. I have an I Am Divine partnership class that there was about 6 engagements that came within weeks of that class, and one of them happened during the class, literally. So it's fun and easy when we choose for it to be fun and easy. And I'm still blown away and excited whenever I get people reporting their miracles to me. But should be normal. This is our inheritance. This is how we create. This is why we're here, to love and to create and to be these creatures that create. And it is fun and easy when we choose for it to be fun and easy.
I love that. I think to me, if it's okay with you, that kind of feels like a good place to end, I guess, our shorter episodes. For those of you listening, we've just transitioned from longer episodes to shorter episodes. But if you sign up to our newsletter, you'll be able to get master classes, which pretty much are the second portion of this conversation. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to be going into self-sabotage. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a topic that I know I'm very interested to dive into, particularly. And as I understand it, is there a workshop associated with that coming up as well?
Yeah,
Could
we
you?
have one coming up March 2nd, I believe. Um, and that'll be live and interactive. It's an hour and a half, and it's only $22.22. So not even a huge investment. For an hour and a half, that's pretty good deal, I think. But we wanted people to be able to show up and be there and remember their path.
That's beautiful. All right, thank you. It has been an honor to have you here. Could you share with us where people could find you, anything you want about contact information, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yes. If you go to drsharnael.com, that's pretty much where all my social media is. I have a whole area section for my books, my workshops. If you're interested in doing a map with me or any kind of coaching or biofeedback, you can set up appointments there. But yeah, I don't have that class on my website right now because it's brand new. But if you go to any of my social medias, you'll find it there. I'm on Facebook, Twitter. And then I also have a podcast that I've been doing since the late 1900s. That sounds so far, that sounds so weird.
What? Tell me about that. I didn't know you had a podcast.
Yes, Dr. Sharnael True TV. I was actually on television for about 3 years, and then we moved everything online. They took my channel down a little bit ago, and we had to completely start over. So I lost several decades of information there, but I'm backing everything up now, and I have everything on YouTube and BitChute and Rumble and all of that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, definitely check that out and subscribe. And we have different member meetings and things like that. Sounds like similar to what you're doing too. So, yeah. And if you go to my newsletter, if you go to my website right now, I'm actually giving a free gift, a free class on clearing trauma and understanding the body and trauma. So if you go to drsharnael.com, there should be a pop-up that comes up and it'll say like, hey, free class. And if you give me your email, I'll send it to you free.
That's very good. A lot of good resources. So hop on there and check it out. I'll take advantage of that as well. Like I always love free stuff.
Free stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And for us, I feel like there's a point where it goes just beyond the material per se. Yes, we do need that. It's important. We all need to pay bills. But at some point, it becomes more about your purpose, more about your alignment with the divine, with whatever that is for you, and our contribution here in this tiny little parentheses, in eternity. So thank you for your gifts. Thank you for what you're sharing. And I can't wait to go into part two. Thank you so much.
Thank you.